My friends, there comes a time in every life when we must face a simple but terrifying truth: that control is an illusion. We spend our days building walls of certainty, chasing outcomes, defending identities, and fighting against the unknown. Yet the more we cling, the smaller our world becomes. Life was never meant to be gripped tightly. It was meant to be lived, like a river that flows through us, not a machine we can command. When we let go, not in despair but in quiet trust, something miraculous begins to happen. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means ceasing the inner war against what is. It is the art of surrendering to the rhythm of existence, of realizing that life knows more about our path than our frightened ego ever could. Every loss you fear is a doorway. Every ending is an invitation. The moment you stop clutching, life places something new into your open hands. When you finally allow the current to carry you, instead of swimming against it, you discover that the river was never trying to drown you. It was trying to take you home. We live under a quiet illusion that if we plan carefully enough, work hard enough, and think long enough, we can command the unfolding of life. We believe we are the architects of destiny, that we can shape outcomes to our design, and that the unknown can be subdued by sheer willpower. Yet, again and again, life shows us the opposite. The people we counted on leave. The plans we crafted dissolve. The doors we tried to force open remain shut, and the ones we never noticed swing wide on their own. This is not failure, it is revelation. It is the moment life removes our illusion of control and reminds us that we are part of something far vaster than our individual intentions. The desire for control is born from fear, the fear of chaos, the fear of uncertainty, the fear that without constant effort everything will fall apart. But what if the opposite is true? What if life becomes whole not when we tighten our grip, but when we release it? When we surrender our anxious need to predict and manipulate, we begin to sense a greater intelligence moving through events, something that does not obey our logic, yet never truly harms us. Control is a form of resistance. It's the ego's attempt to stand against the tide of life, to prove its independence from the mystery that created it. But just as a tree cannot command the wind, we cannot dictate the rhythm of our becoming. The wind may bend the tree, strip its leaves, or carry its seeds far away. But in this surrender, life continues. The tree does not fight. It grows according to the season. When we cling to control, we close ourselves off from surprise, from wonder, from the gentle disorder through which new possibilities arise. We imprison ourselves in the narrow boundaries of what we already know. But when we let go, when we allow life to lead instead of forcing it to follow, we enter into partnership with something wiser than thought. The greatest moments of transformation often come uninvited: a sudden loss, a change we did not plan, an ending we tried to avoid. Yet, in time, we see that these disruptions carried gifts we could never have created ourselves. It is through the cracks in our control that grace enters. To live without control is not to live in chaos. It is to live in trust. It is to acknowledge that we are being shaped, moment by moment, by forces we can neither name nor master, but which move us toward our wholeness. The river of life does not ask for our permission to flow. It only asks that we stop clinging to the rocks and allow ourselves to be carried. Letting go is not a single act. It is an inner unfolding. It begins quietly when we realize that holding on no longer protects us. We cling to people, beliefs, identities, and dreams as though they are lifelines, terrified that releasing them will leave us empty. But in truth, clinging only fills our hands with the past, leaving no room for what seeks to arrive. Letting go is not about losing. It is about creating space, the sacred emptiness where life can breathe again. When we release what has served its time, we make room for what is still waiting to be born within us. It is the clearing of inner soil, so new roots may take hold. We often misunderstand this process. We think of letting go as weakness, as defeat. But in truth, It is one of the highest forms of courage, the willingness to face the unknown without armor. The one who lets go is not running away. They are returning to the flow of life. They are saying to existence, "I trust you more than my fear." Consider how nature teaches this truth. The tree must release its leaves in autumn to survive the coming winter. The caterpillar must let go of its form to become the butterfly. Even the ocean must pull back its tide to allow the next wave to rise. Everything that grows must let go. And yet, in our human arrogance, we imagine ourselves exempt from this eternal rhythm. We cling to what is familiar, even when it has already begun to decay within our hands. But the moment we open our grip, something shifts. The mind quiets, the heart softens, space appears, not the empty kind, but a living stillness filled with possibility. Into that stillness, new insights emerge, new directions reveal themselves, and life begins to move again. Letting go opens the space where transformation can occur. It is the sacred pause between what was and what will be. In that pause, you are no longer defined by your old stories, your wounds, or your expectations. You become receptive, not passive, but profoundly alive to what wishes to unfold through you. Often, when life removes something from us, a relationship, a dream, a certainty, it is not punishment. It is invitation. It is the clearing of an old room so that light may enter. The space that remains is not meant to be feared, but honored. For within that emptiness, a deeper self waits to awaken. Letting go is not the end of your story, it is the beginning of a truer one. The more space you open, the more life can fill you. With clarity, peace, and the quiet strength that comes from trust. When you stop grasping for what must leave, you begin to receive what was always meant to be yours. There is an invisible rhythm within life, an unseen order that moves beneath the surface of all things. To the restless mind, it appears as chaos. To the quiet heart, it reveals itself as harmony. The universe is not random. Every encounter, every delay, every loss, and every spark of joy is part of a greater unfolding, one that speaks a language the intellect cannot translate, but the soul intuitively understands. Trusting this inner order means releasing the demand to know why before we move forward. It means allowing the pattern of our lives to reveal itself in its own time, rather than forcing meaning upon it too soon. The human mind is impatient. It wants answers now, closure now, progress now. Yet life often whispers, wait. It asks us to walk by faith through fog, to hold steady in uncertainty, and to believe that the path beneath our feet is forming even as we step. When we begin to trust the inner order, we notice that what once felt like chaos was simply the movement of transformation. The moments that broke us were the same moments that hollowed us out, making space for wisdom. The delays that frustrated us were preparing alignment. The doors that closed were guiding us toward the one that was truly meant to open. Nothing is wasted when we trust the unseen intelligence that weaves through everything. There is a profound serenity that arises when we stop fighting life's design. We begin to sense that beneath every surface event lies an invisible current, a purpose that cannot always be named, but can always be felt. The more we align with that current, the less we need to control. We act, but we do not grasp. We plan, but we remain open to surprise. We participate, but we no longer impose. Trusting the inner order is not blind optimism, it is deep perception. It is the recognition that life has its own wisdom, one that far exceeds our temporary desires and fears. Just as the seed contains the pattern of the tree, your life holds within it a blueprint, a hidden geometry that leads you toward wholeness. Even your pain belongs. Even your confusion serves. To trust this inner order is to accept that everything unfolds with purpose. Not necessarily the purpose your mind demands, but the one your soul requires. When you stop wrestling with the mystery, you begin to feel carried by it. A quiet confidence replaces anxiety. A calm clarity replaces the need for answers. In this trust, life becomes less about control and more about communion. You no longer stand against the river, you flow with it. And as you do, you realize that the current knows exactly where it's going. The path is not random. The timing is not wrong. The inner order has never failed you. It was guiding you even when you thought you were lost. We are taught from an early age that strength means resistance, standing firm, never yielding, never breaking. We learn to fight for control, to push against circumstance, to conquer uncertainty as if it were an enemy. Yet true strength is not born from resistance. It arises from surrender, from the quiet courage to yield to life's flow without losing our center. Surrender does not mean defeat. It is not the collapse of will, but the alignment of will with something greater. It is the moment when the small self stops fighting the immense intelligence that guides existence. The warrior lays down their sword, not because they have been overcome, but because they finally see there was no battle to win. The river was always flowing the right way. To surrender is to stop exhausting yourself against what already is. It is to open your heart to the unfolding of events without demanding that they serve your preferences. This act requires immense strength, the strength to trust when you cannot see, to remain open when you want to close, to release the need to be right and instead choose to be real. There is a sacred paradox here. What we surrender does not diminish us, it deepens us. When you stop struggling against life, you begin to move in rhythm with it. You discover that peace is not something to be achieved, but something that was always waiting beneath the noise of resistance. Think of water, how effortlessly it flows, how it yields to every shape, every obstacle, yet wears down mountains with its persistence. Water does not fight, it adapts, it allows, it endures. That is the nature of surrender, soft yet unstoppable. The ego fears surrender because it believes power is lost in the letting go. But the truth is the opposite. Surrender grants access to a strength beyond the ego's imagination. It connects us to the vast, creative pulse of life itself. In surrender, you move from effort to alignment, from pushing to flowing, from fear to trust. This is not weakness. It is the highest form of power, the strength that comes from presence, from understanding that nothing real can ever be taken from you. You cease to live as a defender of your own story and become a vessel through which life can move freely. When you surrender, life stops being a struggle and becomes a conversation. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin to ask, "What is this teaching me?" And in that shift, something miraculous occurs. Your pain transforms into wisdom, your confusion into clarity, and your resistance into freedom. Surrender is the art of trusting that life knows the way even when you do not. It is not the end of strength, but its awakening, the strength to release, to receive, and to remain open in the face of mystery. For the one who surrenders is not weak, they are free. Loss is one of life's most demanding teachers. It arrives uninvited, often when we feel least prepared. A sudden ending, a departure, a fading dream, a silence where laughter used to live. In those moments, the world feels emptied, stripped of meaning. Something we built our identity upon has been taken, and we are left standing in the ruins of what once was. Yet, within that emptiness, a deeper movement begins, slow, invisible, and holy. For every loss carries within it the seed of transformation. What feels like destruction is often the breaking of an old shell, a necessary shattering that allows a new self to emerge. When life removes something from us, it is rarely an act of cruelty. More often, it is an act of alignment. What leaves our lives takes with it what can no longer grow. The familiar must sometimes die so that the authentic can live. We resist this truth because loss hurts. It burns through our illusions of permanence and safety. But beneath the ache, something sacred stirs, the possibility of renewal. Grief, when faced honestly, becomes a passageway, a crossing from the known to the unknown. It strips away what is false and forces us to meet ourselves without disguise. Loss invites us to descend into the deeper layers of being. where we discover that endings are not punishments, but thresholds. What dies in your life is never the essence of you, only the form through which you once expressed it. Transformation asks for something costly: your willingness to allow change to undo you. The cocoon must dissolve before the butterfly can emerge. Likewise, our old identities, beliefs, and attachments must fall away before we can live from the soul instead of the mask. It is natural to grieve what we lose. To feel pain is not weakness. It is participation in the rhythm of renewal. The tears that fall are not signs of failure. They are the cleansing waters of rebirth. Each loss, however unbearable in its moment, eventually reveals its secret gift. It clears space for a new level of truth, love, or purpose to unfold. And when that moment comes, when you can look back on what once broke you and see how it shaped you, you understand the quiet mercy hidden in loss. You realize that life was never taking from you, but transforming you. What you thought was the end was only a turning, a deeper invitation to become whole. Loss, then, is not destruction. It is alchemy. It turns grief into wisdom, endings into beginnings, and emptiness into space for grace. Nothing truly essential is ever lost. It only changes form, waiting to meet you again in a more mature and luminous way. To lose is to evolve. To grieve is to grow. And to accept loss is to discover the deeper truth, that life never stops giving, even when it takes away. Life does not respond to the hardened heart, it responds to the open one. The more open we are, to feeling, to learning, to change, the more generously life moves toward us. Openness is not naivety, it is courage. It is the quiet strength to remain undefended in a world that often teaches us to close, to guard, to hide behind the armor of control and certainty. But the truth is simple: nothing new can enter a heart that is closed. To live openly is to live vulnerably, to meet life as it is, without disguises or expectations. It means being willing to be touched by both joy and pain, by beauty and loss, knowing that each experience is shaping us into something more whole. When we stay open, we allow life to flow through us instead of around us. Every moment, even the difficult ones, becomes part of a larger conversation with the soul. Openness is the gate through which wisdom enters. When we stop defending our old identities, we make room for new understanding to dawn. The world begins to feel alive again. Colors seem deeper, conversations more meaningful, silence more sacred. We start to sense a subtle reciprocity between ourselves and existence. As we open, life opens too. It meets us where we are, reflecting our willingness to grow. To be open is to trust the unknown. It is to say, I do not know what will come, but I am ready to meet it. That readiness, that willingness to be changed by experience, is what draws grace into our lives. Life does not reward perfection, it rewards participation. It gives itself fully to those who show up with humility and curiosity, who dare to remain present even when nothing makes sense. When we close ourselves off, through fear, pride, or resentment, we stop evolving. We become like stagnant water, cut off from the current that brings renewal. But when we open, even slightly, we reconnect with the living stream of creation. Energy moves again. Synchronicities appear. The right people, opportunities, and insights begin to align in ways logic could never have planned. Openness is not about having no boundaries. It is about having a heart spacious enough to hold both joy and sorrow without being shattered by either. It is about trusting that life, in its mysterious wisdom, is always moving us toward wholeness, even when it asks us to release what we thought we needed most. When we live with an open heart, gratitude becomes our natural state. We stop measuring our worth by outcomes and begin to feel the quiet abundance already pulsing through every breath. Life rewards this openness not with possessions or achievements, but with meaning, with a deeper sense of connection to everything that is. To remain open is to remain alive. The more you open, the more life flows toward you, generous, unpredictable, and full of grace. In the end, openness is not a choice of comfort, it is the path of truth. for life can only fill the hands that are willing to let go and remain open. My friend, everything you've been seeking, peace, clarity, freedom, meaning, it isn't waiting in the distance. It has been here all along, hidden beneath the noise of control, fear, and resistance. Life has been whispering to you through every ending, every delay, every silence. Let go and trust me. The truth is simple, yet few ever dare to live it. The more you let go, the more life gives you. Not because you've earned it, not because you've mastered it, but because you've finally stopped standing in your own way. When you release your grip on how things should be, life can finally reveal how they are meant to be. Letting go is not giving up, it is growing up. It is the moment when you stop forcing and start flowing. It is the moment when the ego falls silent and the soul takes the wheel. The path you fear to lose is often the very one that leads you home. So surrender, not in weakness, but in wisdom. Surrender to the rhythm that has guided galaxies and hearts since the beginning of time. Trust that the same intelligence that turns seasons, that breathes through forests, that awakens dawn after every night, is also guiding your becoming. Every loss, every uncertainty, every fall was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to shape you, to strip away what was false, so that what is eternal in you could rise. That rising, that quiet strength, is who you really are. Do not be afraid to release. Do not fear the space that follows endings. Life always fills what you make empty. The moment you open your hands, something greater begins to flow through them. So walk forward now, not as someone trying to control life, but as someone ready to experience it fully. Let go of the old story, the old fear, the old need to know. Trust the current. Let it carry you. For when you do, you will find that life has never been against you. It has only been waiting for your surrender. And when you finally let go, you will see. Life gives back everything you were afraid to lose, but this time purified, transformed, and truly yours. The more you let go, the more life gives you. That is not a theory. It is the hidden law of the soul.